Hi One Health students, my name is Fleur Connor Douglas. I work at Massey University in the Centre for Teaching and Learning. I'm looking out of my window today at a very cool, fresh New Zealand spring day, thinking about the fact that I'm talking to you all in different parts of Asia and how amazing modern education really is. Hey. Joe McKenzie and I have been working together and have identified a couple of areas that Joe thought would help you out in your assignment writing. So asked me to do some sessions on these. I have broken it up into two short presentations, so you'll be able to go back and find the information you need easily. Both of the sessions relate to information organisation, but this first one is entitled Approaching Assignments Positively, and we are going to talk really here about the pre-writing stages, the question analysis, the planning processes, the research process. And the second session, which you'll also find in stream, is related to the writing skill of paragraphing. Well, also of course information organisation, but just on a smaller level. Now, for both of these presentations, I'm going to refer back to an assignment you did on rabies and rabies control in your country, just so we have a common point and a common example to use in relation to the points I'm making today. So neither of them are very long. I will have Word documents in stream as well, which accompany things, just because these presentations that you put in, sometimes the formatting gets changed, so examples aren't always the best. So yep, let's get into it. So first off, let's look and think about, well, I would like you to think about your own processes, I guess, when you are approaching a new assignment. Push pause, take a few minutes to think about what steps do you take when you start an assignment. How quickly do you start writing? What do you do in this pre-writing phase beforehand? How long do you spend processing the information? These are the sorts of things I'd like you to think about. In the next slide, I'm going to introduce you to a suggested researching and planning cycle, and we're going to talk about that a little bit there. So this is a researching and planning cycle, which you can see has 5 phases to it. Have a look at them and think about which phase would you enter the cycle. Obviously, it would be in this construction of a skeleton plan. So this is the place that you enter this cycle before you move on to the reading, the note-taking and the research, okay, which of course we've got here. Now 4 and 5 are cyclical themselves, yeah. I think you would move around this area as well. We're going to talk about the other phases a bit later on, but right now I'd like you to think about the skeleton plan. Think about what a skeleton is. Bones, yeah. And if you're constructing a skeleton for your assignment, you're trying to identify what are the bones of this assignment. What am I being asked to do? And what format will this be? How long will it be? These sorts of things. In the next few slides and documents, I'd just like to talk about the construction of this all-important skeleton plan. So when we are trying to form the skeleton plan, you obviously need to start with the question analysis, all right? Now, when we start looking at the question, if you let's take that example that we talked about, the rabies assignment. It's a large question with a lot of different parts to it. So if I read out the first part, prepare a report that addresses the following headings, and then we go into epidemiology, significance of rabies, review current rabies control programs in your country, etc., etc. There's a lot of parts to it, but you need to look at the assignment very, very carefully and in total beforehand. And the first thing to focus on is the genre, which is the writing type that you're expected to do. So in this case, is it a report? Is it an essay? Is it, what are other types of postgraduate writing types you might be asked for? A literature review? An annotated bibliography? We know when we, I'll put that up there as a reminder, we know a lot about these. We know some things about these different writing styles, yes? When we're asked to do a report, we understand that a report is presented in sections. It has an introduction, it has a conclusion, it usually has strong area for recommendation as well. Whereas an essay, a literature review, an annotated bibliography, they'd take a different form. So in the rabies assignment, that's our first bit of information. We have to write a report. We can start imagining how this is going to be. The next area to think about is the word count. How large is this going to be? Now, in this assignment, you were given a different word count for each section. So you're able to see the word count, the amount of marks that were available, and this starts helping you get a lot more information around what kind of detail is expected of me. How much shall I be putting into a particular section or another? Let's take the epidemiology section, the first section. It was worth 10 marks and the word limit was 1,000 words. How many paragraphs would you be looking at for 1,000 words? If you think about it, a good academic paragraph is 150 to 250 words long, yeah. If you get much more than 300 words, the reader can start losing their thread and the main point. So obviously, in 1,000 words, we're looking at a maximum of 4 paragraphs. Perhaps 4 or 5 paragraphs, yeah, shall we say, for 1,000 words. So let me just catch up with my slow typing here on the iPad, just so you've got it there for future reference. Great. All right, so you can start to see how we're building up this skeleton. Then we go to the next part, which is the content. So this is actually what you're being asked to do, yeah? So if you know in the, for example, epidemiology section, you're going to have 4 to 5 paragraphs. Well, there are 5 main points here. Yeah, identifying the various host species and their role in maintaining and spreading. So you're getting out the keywords and you're starting to map out the bones of this answer. Now, I have got an example one for you. You can find it on Stream and download it, but I will pull it up onto the screen here if you just bear with me for a minute. I'll just grab it from Dropbox. have a look at this one. Now, this, as I said, this app that I'm... Okay, as you can see, here is an example of a skeleton plan. This application changes the format a little bit, so it's important that you download it from Stream in Word and print it out and have a look at it there. But this is very basic, isn't it? We've got an introduction paragraph. We know that that's going to be one paragraph. What are we going to be doing there? We're going to be establishing the context and the purpose in there. Then we move on to our first section. Yeah, 4 or 5 paragraphs in the epidemiology. Host species. These are the things that I need to do with the host species. Identify the domestic host species, the wildlife human, the maintenance hosts, the spillover hosts, the dead-end hosts, and the transmission. So, as you can see, we've got the bones here. We've got a mapped out part of our, a mapped out plan just based on our information about the genre, the report style, the word count, and the question content. Yeah, you've already started thinking about what the best way to organise this will be. All right. You can see here you move on to the second section. Look, it's only it's only 200 words. It's one paragraph, so it's the impact of rabies in your country, for example. And then we move on to that third section. It's got 2,000 words. It's going to be a lot, all right? So this is just the start. So let's go back now to our... Oh, that's the end of that document. 1 minute. Right, so let's go back now to our researching and planning cycle. And you can see, after you've got something like that skeleton plan, you can then start your research. So with these recommended texts, perhaps, is where you might want to start. Perhaps in your course notes, you've been told that, these are some good articles to start with. You start reading, you start note-taking back to that skeleton plan that you've formed, all right? And, of course, you're then revising the plan. And as Joe commented, you're adding the muscles and flesh to the bones as you start revising. Now, obviously, you're only going to get a starting point with recommended text, and at your level of study, you need to get into much more detail than that and begin your independent research. From that, you're going to revise your plan more, add more muscle, add more flesh to the plan, note take in your own words, keep records of where you got your information from, look for gaps. Oh, these things have not got enough detail, or I'm only seeing one side of the story. Starting to note down your opinions, and then back to more research. As you know, you're going to need to find out more detail, and round and round and round this goes until your plan is full, detailed, processed by you, and then you're ready to start writing. So in summary, again, my formatting's become a little bit wonky here, but I want you to think about always planning before writing. Very, very important. As someone who looks at a lot of reports, a lot of essays, I can always tell very quickly if something has been planned, if the information organisation is logical or not. So, skeleton planning, as we talked about before, detailed planning. Yeah. So then the reading is all that you do, the looking, researching, finding sources, and then the reading and note-taking is all related to the skeleton plan. It helps direct you and guide you. It helps you with your time. Then what I do, once I've found articles, I organise those articles by the plan parts. So I know that some parts of the article are going to be very useful for me for section 3. So then I put all of those together in a file when I need to start planning section 3. Okay. The next point, plan in the big sections before you start planning out your paragraphs. So you can see you're going from big picture to more detail, more detail, more detail. In the end, each section of your skeleton plan becomes a detailed plan where you know paragraph by paragraph what you're going to be writing. Third point, evaluate gaps, breadth and depth of research on your plan and fill these through more research. Now, you are also being asked for your own voice in the work you're doing. Your master's level students, you need to show your response, your evaluation of this material. That should also occur on your plan. The last point I want to make here, and just before we finish the whole presentation, sometimes I read students' writing and I sort of think, wow, I feel like the whole first half of this writing is just warming up. It's like you're doing your, pre-run stretches and warm-ups, and you're not making any of your main points. It's like you're just getting to understand the material while you're writing. Try and warm up and process or understand the material on your plan. It's a much faster way to do it because you're taking notes. Try not to warm up and process while writing paragraphs because it usually ends up in, less successful product. Now, another thing, just before we finish, I want to say, don't forget to use the services the university provides for distance students like yourself, which help you with your writing process as well. There is a forum called Academic Q&A where you can come and ask questions all around the things we're talking about today, and another service called the pre-reading service where you get someone like myself to read your work and make comments on these sorts of issues. So thanks for your attention, everyone. I'm going to close this presentation now and we'll start off in the paragraphing one after this. Thank you.